What is up, everybody? Welcome once again to my channel, and today let's continue with another round of our WCR, our World Championship Racing League, as we are about to get started with the 10th round of the championship here at the Mexican circuit of the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez. As you guys heard the ticking down of the clock to get ready for the lobby, let's get ourselves started with our track introduction, shall we? So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez, which is located just to the east of Mexico City, and the 17-corner track has been always a very exciting race, at least in my recent memory, since it has returned to the F1 calendar. We have seen plenty of drama with Vettel and Verstappen trying to hold up the Ferrari to advantage of Daniel Ricciardo. We also had some cheeky corner cutting over the years and some championship awarding races, as well as Hamilton did just in the season past. This track is usually a stressful one to both cars and the drivers, as the cars, the machines, due to the lighter density of the air, they can achieve higher speeds and therefore push more of the components. Also, the tires suffer quite a lot because the 17 corners of these circuits are a very nice mix of fast sweeping corners and very hard to get nailed exiting zones or traction zones, so it is always very difficult to manage the tires throughout a lap, which is not very long, but it is certainly demanding. So let's see what our tires get us today. As you guys can see, for our last race, Zor took pole and the win. Will be able to do 2 in a row? Will Jensen and Evil Kiwi extend or diminish the gap for the championship? Looking at in terms of the championship, we have Jensen leading with 21 points over Evil Kiwi, as the Frenchman Zor probably out of the championship, but still with a chance, as he has made very good performances as of late. Then we have Noidrate in P4 for the best of the Renaults, followed by Black Reverse in 5th. Overspeed not too far behind, 11 points separates him from the Belgian driver Dal, the best of our reserve drivers, in 7th, followed by Valu, Necronical Pug in 9th, and Tyster in 10th place. After that, as we move to the constructors, we have Williams leading the championship with 202 points, Toro Rosso in 2nd with 153, Renault in 3rd with 106. Then we have a big gap to Alfa Romeo, who's only 5 points away from Silverstone-based Force India. Then we have with 56 points Scuderia Ferrari, followed by Mercedes with 41, Red Bull with 34, 4 points ahead of the American-based Haas, with McLaren closing the pack with only 6 points scored to their name as they wrap up the top 10. Now, getting that out of the way, let's get ourselves to the lobby and see what the drivers are going to do today. So let's just take a look and set everything up for my details, for my spectator menu, and the telemetry would be enabled and the lap data as well, so you guys can see what actions or what pedal movements the drivers are doing today. Just going to mess around with my other windows on my second monitor. Everything is set up. As you guys can see, Bielyuk at the moment just about to start his flying lap, I believe, as he gets the RS open. Speeds getting very close to 340 kilometers per hour, sometimes even exceeding that, as you go heavy on the brakes. About 100 meters before turn number 1, you need to get the car rotated well to get a good entry, a good angle of attack to the chicane of corners number 2 and 3. And exit is also very important because it leads into another straight where the RS can be used, so any mistake, any wheel spin can cost you quite a bit through this first sector. Right after you end it, we have another chicane, left and right combination. So now we have a double apex right-handers. Bielyuk loses the rear. There is a mistake there from the Ferrari driver, and he's certainly going to abort that lap and try again another time. So let's just take a look at our pack. Zaire is the first to cross the line and gets himself with a 1:15.7, the first of the times to beat so far. Going to take a look at BTEC Sim Race, so let's see what he can do after his DNF as Suzuka. Not really any fault of his own, he really was doing well, but I believe it was Zaire actually that lost the rear out of the last corner, went into the pit wall, and the Toro Rosso driver was just too close to avoid the Force India. So hopefully he can get back on track with a good result here today. Let's see what he does. Speaking of the Toro Rossos, we have his teammate Evil Kiwi with a 1:15.1. Rat follows with a 1:15.3 on the Ultra Softs rather. The best time so far has been Evil Kiwi's on the Super Softs, as he gets promptly beaten by Rocky, he's going for the name of Rocky today, but due to my information is Kovacs Laurent. He did not finish the race at Japan on his debut, so hopefully we're going to see good things from him. He's currently at the top of the timesheets as we get BTEC in 9th place so far, so not the greatest lap ever from him. Let's take a look at Overspeed, who's also midway through the third sector of these 4.3 kilometer racetrack. Very easy on the throttle he needs to be as he gets now down to second gear. Now it's a good throttle application is important to maximize speed through the exit of the last corner, and he crosses the line without setting a lap time, so I'm pretty sure that one got invalidated by some form or of exceeding the track limits. Let's see how he manages to get another lap together next time around. We have a debutee in the name of Streeter as the Indian driver, the first Indian driver I believe of the World Championship Racing League, and he is racing today for the Red Bull, replacing one of the Red Bull's full-time drivers. Let's see what he can do today. He's currently on the Super Softs as we're going to go on board. That looked to me pretty wide. I'm not sure if the game is going to slap him on the wrist for that one, but he is going to get himself looked pretty slow into the entry of the stadium section. I don't know if he's aborting his lap time. It looks like he has a decent amount of ERS available to him. Let's see what he does. He's going to complete the lap, and it actually counted. It was a 1:17.2. Gets him not last at the moment, at least, because Bieluk made a mistake a while ago, but he gets 15th place so far. Looking at Spa X Gamer, he was going to cross over the line with a 1:14.9. That was invalidated as well, so hopefully he's going to try and go for another flying lap and try to extract a good lap time from that set of Hypersoft tires. And then we are going to move to championship leader Jensen, who is currently on the Super Softs. He's about to get through corner number 17 of this layout. Looks like a good application on the throttle at the exit. He's going to get up through the gears and get himself 8th place so far on that set of Super Softs. He's not the best of the Super Softs runners, 4 tenths behind his most direct rival for the championship contention, but he can still improve, maybe take another set of Super Softs and improve on that. We have a bunch of drivers in the pits at the moment. Tyser just came out of the pits. Talking about that, he's going to get himself through the first corner of his flying lap. He's currently on the Ultra Softs, once again navigating very nicely on the apexes of that complex between corners number 1 and 3. Up through the gears once again, the RS wide open on the rear wing of the car, once again waiting for the 100-meter marker board. He again went down to 3rd gear. I was expecting him to get down maybe to a 2nd, but he made it stick through the double apex right-hander. He didn't quite nail the apexes, but he still maintained good speed through there. Now that is a bit of a blind braking zone. You need to go by feel if you are not using the racing line. Maintaining 5th up to 6th gear right now as he gets through the exit of that complex. Now about to enter the stadium complex. Always very enthusiastic fans in the grandstands, and he's getting himself through a very tricky spot after that hairpin. Now corner number 17 once again, down to 2nd gear, up through the gears full power as soon as he can, and he crosses over the line with a 1:16.3, which get him number 17th on the standings at the moment. Hey Leon, what's up man, how are you doing? Welcome to the live stream. Oh, by the way, okay, sorry, I just had to deal with another window, as the McLaren of Spax Gamer, is he going to the pits? Okay, for a moment he looked like he wasn't, but he actually is going to the pits. That was the end of his second lap on that set of Hypersofts, as this will have his teammates royally smacking him with a 1:14.3 lap time so far, as he's currently in the pits. We have Black Reverse in second on a set of Hypersofts. I don't know what set of tires he used on that first lap of his, but maybe he's going for the Hypersofts to try to get him a closer spot to the first place on the grid. Let's see how it goes. He needs to not overwork the tires too much through this outlap. Black Reverse was at a very good streak of results. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 6th place finishes at this season, including a 6th place at Suzuka, with 2 top 5s, 1 at Italy where he got 5th and 4th at Singapore. He got 8th at Russia. Looks like he's going for another outlap. He's not confident. Maybe he didn't get his tires warmed up as he wanted to, so he's going to take another lap to get everything ready. But yeah, he got himself back to his 6th place finishes at Suzuka. Let's see if he improves on that. At least at the moment, he's doing very nicely indeed. We're going to move to Evil Kiwi. Looks like on the start of a flying lap. Once again, 100 meters away from the corner, down to 3rd gear to help rotating the car through the curb. You can't get too aggressive on those, especially if you are running high ballast. Very aggressive on the exit, down, smashing the throttle up through the gears once again. 100 meters away from the corner is your friend if you brake there during this first sector. We are now getting through the double apex right-hander. He managed to do it better than Tyser did last time. The Singaporean driver was getting around that session, but there a mistake from Evil Kiwi, and I believe that's going to be it for his lap. Diary, in the meantime, is finally looking like he's pulling his weight. I know it was a Hypersoft lap, but it is a 1:14.7. BTEC Sim Racer getting himself P2 with a 1:14.6. And very well done by the Toro Rosso driver, who looks like he wants to bounce back strong after a DNF at his previous race. Diary, the American driver, he hasn't scored many points finishes in this season. Black Reverse has scored the majority of Force India's points so far, but he looks like he has been strong, at least with the Hypersofts. He's doing some competitive lap times. He's actually in front of his teammate. I'm not sure if his teammate did his flying lap on Hypersofts as well. So let's look down through the order. We have Leglaf, the Irish driver of the Mercedes team. He who has only in 9 races only achieved 2 points finishes, and every other race he either did not start it or did not finish it. So whenever he finishes, at least it's in the points, but he doesn't finish too often. He only got 7th place at Silverstone and an 8th place at the Japanese round of the championship. So hopefully he can get himself another solid result, because the Mercedes do truly need some points to take the fight to their closest rivals. Looks like he's about to close out his flying lap. He's on brand new Hypersofts. I don't know if he... yeah, he's going to open up. Maybe he got a lap invalidated. He's letting one of the Toro Rossos through. It might be Evil Kiwi actually, who aborted his previous lap, and is going for another flying lap of his own. Going to try to take that in mind, as we have Jensen at the moment down in 11th. This is not good news for the Dane. He made his previous lap time on the Supersofts. He wasn't the best of the Supersoft runners at the time, but he's looking to improve on that. We got Evil Kiwi 2nd place with a 1:14.5 on the Ultrasofts. So he did have to do an extra lap to get closer to Rocky. So Rocky not only got the quicker lap time, so he's ahead, but he's also going to the start of the race with one less lap of tire wear. Let's see if the qualifying session ends up like that. Let's see what effect it might have, especially at the traction when the lights go out. Jensen gets himself an improvement on this lap, 114.6, as he gets himself to P6. Spax Gamer got himself to P5, so not bad at all from him. JJ, yes, just beats Jensen, being the best of the Hypersoft runners at the moment with a 114.6 as well. Only 0.02 of a second separating those two. So very nice to see some close performances there, despite on quite different compounds of tires in terms of the grip they provide. I'm going to take a look down the order. We have had a leg lap. He completed his lap time, but I don't think he has improved on it. Maybe he got once again invalidated. As Spax Gamer gets himself a 114 flat, almost being the first one to drop below the 114s, almost the first one to get into the 113s, but very nice lap from him, as it is at the moment a front row lockout from the McLaren team. Let's see if they can hold that into the end of the qualifying session. That would be very well done, I must say, as Spax Gamer did not finish. Both McLarens actually did not finish their debut race at Suzuka, so finally they are showing their true pace, their true talents, and with a front row lockout at the moment, they might be a serious threat to the race win here today. We're going to take a look down the order, getting to Black Reverse, who I believe is on a flying lap of his own with a brand new set of ultra soft tires. Let's see how he does. Currently in 10th place, Rat up to P9, as he is the second Williams, who made most of the season with the Mercedes team but then switched to the Williams, as Plinius dropped from Williams into a reserve role. So we still have a full Dane lineup at the Williams team, but of course Rat hasn't showed the same kind of performances his fellow Dane, that is now a reserve driver, has done throughout the season. So let's see if being on the Williams inspires Rat. Let's see how he gets through the last rounds of this championship. Taking into account this race, I think it's only 4 races until the end of the season. Black Reverse getting himself through the last run, or the last corner, and it is going to be 114.8. I don't think he improved on that one. Either he got invalidated or he just outright did not improve. So we're going to take a look at Rocky. Let's see if he's going to improve on that one. I believe he just started a flying lap of his own. Let's see what you can get from him now. He's just cooling down the car. He's not really pushing, so don't think we have anything going for him at the moment. We have Diary on brand new Hypersofts. He is looking to improve on that 8th place at the moment. His teammate is the 4th quickest out of the Ultrasoft runners in 10th place. Most of the cars in the top 10 are going to start on the Hypersoft tires. So it's going to be interesting, especially because the run down into turn 1 is very long. Those who start on the Hypersofts might have a better start on pure traction, might have a better start than the ones on the Ultrasofts, and yeah, it might get very chaotic into turn 1, because the run down into turn 1 is very long. Pilnius has already retired from the session. Don't know if it was due to a crash or him just getting into the pits and retiring, as we have a very slow Red Bull. I believe it was Streeter getting very slowly. He's currently in 19th. Bielliuk is also going to improve on that. I believe he got blocked by one of the Alfa Romeos, the American driver, but he's going to cross the line in P2. Great lap from him, despite being on the Hypersoft. He is the best of the Hypersoft runners at the moment, dethroning Rat, who had gotten past Rocky, who's in the meantime dropped down to P4. So great race from the number 15 there. We're also going to take a look at Noidorate as the Renault driver. He has already 2 podiums in his season so far. Finished the last race at Suzuka in 7th place. We have also other drivers retiring. Bielliuk, unfortunately for him, he could not improve his lap time and is starting from last place. We have the checkered flag being waved to all the drivers who are about to complete a lap and who are going to complete a lap from now on. Noid rate gets down to P8, Rocky retires, Rat retires, Noid rate does not improve, less than a tenth slower than his best lap, and he gets 8. That's what he's going to deal with, at least 8 so far. Let's take a look at Logan as the Ferrari driver, the reserve driver racing for the Ferrari. He did not retire any of his first 2 races. He took part of the Singapore round and he retired there, and then at Suzuka he also could not finish the race. Let's see if he gets, I believe he's the last, or at least very close to being the last one to cross the line. Diary still is to cross the line. Let's see what he does. And he retires from the session. Logan does improve, but he is in 7th, so I think he might have gotten his lap invalidated. And we have Jensen easy going for pole position. He's on a brand new set of Hypersoft tires. Let's see what he does. It looks like he's on a very competitive lap. He's going to cross over the line, and it is pole position for the Dane as the number 91 gets himself on pole. A great lap from him. It looked like he got under the 1:14 mark, so I believe he was the only one to get into the 1:13s. Great performance there from the Williams driver. Let's see what he does in the race. Of course, is going to go for the 2-stop for sure, considering he's starting on the Hypersoft. So there you have it, Jensen almost half a second quicker than a Spax Gamer, or Spax Gamer, as he is the best of the Ultrasoft runners. Diary in P3, Rat in P4, Rocky P5, Overspeed in P6, Evil Kiwi in P7. Of course, it's going to be a very interesting battle between Jensen and Evil Kiwi, both on very different strategies. Jensen maybe can get clean air in front of him, and if he gets out of trouble into turn 1, he might just pull away, taking advantage of his tires, but he's going to make 1 extra pit stop. So it's going to be very close between these two. I have heard that is not much advantage between the 2-stop compared to the 1-stop, because how effective is the fact that you have a softer tire compound, especially throughout the second sector, with lots of slow corner exits, and therefore the smoothness of the tires helps you get out of those sections quicker with the increased traction. But it is indeed going to be interesting. It's also going to be a battle of who can conserve their rubber the best, because of course this track, despite being smooth, it is very demanding for the tires. So those who are looking to make the 1-stop work might take a look and pay attention to their tire temperatures and see how they variate throughout the lap and throughout the stint. So just getting to wait for everyone to complete their loading procedures, and we are going to get ourselves through the formation lap. I'm just going to get myself through the details for this track. It looks like most of the top 10 is starting on the Ultrasofts, which is weird because I could have sworn that most of them were on the Hypersofts. Maybe they just wanted more practice, more laps done. But yeah, they're actually starting on the Ultrasofts, so they decided to abort their laps on the Hypersofts to start on the Ultras. Spax Gamer is of course the best out of the Ultrasoft starters. Rocky in P5, he did very well to get himself P5 in qualifying. It looked at one point, it looked like it could have been a 1-2 start for the McLaren team, which in terms of the constructors, they have needed a lot, as they are last place with only 6 points to their name. So the Woking base team has some work to do if they want to finish the season out of the last spot of the championship. They are really going to have to do some work. Unfortunately, I'm kind of surprised by Black Reverse's qualifying performance. He was on the Ultrasofts, he only got 12th. He has gotten he hasn't finished. He finished every single race this season. He's won, I believe he might be, yes, he is the only driver who finished every single race this season, and he's always finished in the points, with the lowest place being 9th at Silverstone, the second lowest 8th at Austria, and also at Russia, and then he got 4 6th places, 1 5th and 1 4th. So very good consistency from the Belgian driver, but unfortunately today couldn't best at 12th place, so he's not even starting in the top 10. But fortunately for him, he's going to have brand new tires for the start of the Grand Prix. Let's see what or in what way that is going to be an advantage to the Belgian driver. So everyone is getting lined up. Bialuk is going to be the last. We have only one driver starting on the Super Softs, that is Streeter, the debutee for today, the Indian driver. As you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Mexican Grand Prix. A very slow start there from Diarrheas. Both Williams got themselves to first and second. What a great start from both of them. Rocky drops down to P3. Spax Gamer drops down not even to fourth but to fifth, as it is going to be chaos. There's contact between one of the McLarens, and there is 2 or 3 drivers out. There's also carbon fiber flying from one of the Force Indias. Yes, Black Reverse getting the short end. Sorry, it was Diarrhea getting collected in all of that mess, and he's going to stay in P10. He has completely gone his front wing. What an unfortunate happenstance to the driver's leg left. Gets already a 5-second stop and go penalty to him for gaining a place after corner cuttings. Spax Gamer and Pilnius out of the race already. There was chaos indeed through the first set of corners. Jensen is going to get red carpet on his way to extend the lead over Ratus, already 1 second behind. Then we have Rocky in P3, might attack the Dane. No, he does not. He refrains from trying a move into the stadium section. Gets a bit too wide there as he went through the right-hander. Logan in P4, Overspeed in P5. Great starts from these two. Evil Kiwi, I actually don't remember if he gained or lost places, but he gets himself 6th place at the moment. He still has work to do. He needs to get out of the issues of being in the pack that come with being in the pack. Diary is finally going to the pits. He actually was able to not drop to absolute last before going to the pits, but we have Diary, Leglev, Videoton, Inferno Koi, and BTEC Sim Racer all in the pits. So all victims of the contact through the first, even before the braking zone for the first corners. Overspeed gets a bit unstable at the exit of turn number 3. Evil Queen might be later on the brakes. Let's see who's the bravest out of these two. Overspeed covering him off very nicely and maintaining P5 at the moment. We are going to take a look at Rocky as he's been trying to line up Rat for a pass. Rat getting very wide through that double apex right-hander. Is getting out through these very quick maggots and buckets like section, and it looks like he lost quite a bit of distance to the Williams, so a mistake there from the McLaren driver, and Logan is now filling up his mirrors with a red blob, I imagine. So instead of being the hunter, he is now getting hunted by the German driver of the Ferrari. Let's see what Logan can do to get himself on the podium paint positions. Overspeed also joins the party. In the meantime, Evil Kiwi is not too far behind. Then there is an almost 1 second gap to JJS. Black Reverse managed to get himself out of trouble, started P12, is currently in P8, so not too bad from the Force India driver at the moment. We have Noiderate in P9 as he's witnessing the battle between Black Reverse and JJS. I don't think JJS gave too much space to the Belgian driver there, but he has been able to maintain 7th place at the moment. DRS is not yet available for these drivers. I believe there's also a battle between Rocky and Wrath as they are getting side by side through the beginning of the second sector. He gets around the outside, a very good maneuver there from the Mercedes driver, the McLaren driver, to get himself up to P2. He has lost multiple seconds though, battling the second of the Williams, and the gap is almost 3 seconds, exactly 3 seconds at the moment. Rocky gets a penalty of his own, JJS with a penalty as well. Logan, I believe, also got a penalty earlier, so unfortunately he's going to have to deal with that one, and we are going to see how that might impact the final standings come the end of the race. We have Jensen doing another fastest lap. He's really trying to push to get himself as far away as he can from Evil QA to try to get as less affected as possible by the fact that the Toro Rosso driver is doing one less stop than him. Now we have, speaking of the Czech driver of the Toro Rosso, DRS wide open for him as Logan makes a move on Rat. So Rat is really struggling on this opening round. The Ferrari driver got cleanly past up to P3. Black Reverse is battling JJS once again as he gets DRS wide open. We have Noiderate spectating the battle from these two, looking to pick up any pieces that might come his way. Last time around we had Rocky go around the outside. Let's see what happens this time. Black reverse goes the inside. There is contact between JJS and the Force India and the number 33 Renault. The Singaporean driver is going to try and say thank you very much. He's going to have a cheeky move down the inside. There might have been contact, not quite sure about that one, but if there wasn't contact, that was hella close between those two. JJS unfortunately might have taken a curb the wrong way and made a mistake and lost a massive amount of time, and is down to P9 nonetheless. Very unfortunate from him, as we have overspeed. Now it's his turn, pressurizing the Toro Rosso driver. Let's see how it does, as we have finally Rat getting into the pits. He's going to get rid of those hypersofts rather. He wasn't really comfortable with those, but that is going to nullify Overspeed's ability to get the slipstream, and that gives Evil Kiwi the chance to have a go at the inside into turn 1. The number 4, I believe, is trying some form of switchback maneuver, but there just wasn't space for him to do that. Evil Kiwi gets himself to P4, and crucially for him, he now has a 2.5 second gap to the Ferrari in front of him. So Evil Kiwi can keep his head down and just work on his consistency, work on his apexes, try to keep his car on the track limits, and get himself charging far away, of course, from Jensen. But it's going to be fun to see how those two battle without being side by side on the track itself. Rocky getting another 3-second time penalty. That's very unfortunate at the moment. I would say he is down to P5. If the race finished right now, Rocky would be closing the top 5. Overspeed is not too far away from Evil Kiwi though. The gap is still only 6 tenths. Bialuk, how the hell did he get from 20th up to P11? I'm actually very surprised. Streeter also from P12, so I'm guessing these two who were at the start of the race on the last row of the grid, they kept themselves out of trouble, and everyone around there have had their share of issues, and now they are currently 11th and 12th. Streeter starts on the super softs. He might struggle a little bit trying to keep up with Bialuk, because the Ferrari driver is on the ultra softs. Let's see how that goes throughout the stint. Of course, Bialuk is going to start suffering a bit more on the tires at about lap 10. Let's see if Streeter is debuting today. He didn't have the greatest of qualifyings, but let's see if he can get himself past the Ferrari. Of course, the Ferrari wants to get himself through and up into the top 10, as you have already retirements from Leglaf, so he's headed to Spax Gamer and Plinius into the list of fatalities, not fatalities, but victims of this race so far. Nice camera shot there from Bialuk, as you guys can see. He's not gaining too much time to the Red Bull, despite getting himself softer tires for this early in the race. So it is going to be interesting to see which one of those two is going to win the battle and get the chance to get into the top 10. Overspeed hasn't been able to attack Evil Kiwi in the last DRS zone. Let's see if he can do that this time around. He swerves to the right to get himself some slipstream. Black reverse does exactly the same, but he is too far behind. He's not going to have DRS at his availability. He's not going to have DRS at his disposal. But Overspeed not being quick enough out of the last corner. Maybe he doesn't have as much fuel. Maybe he doesn't have as much ERS to use and close down on Evil Kiwi. He might have a chance into turn number 4. Let's see how it goes on the brakes. No, the number 4 is not close enough to get himself into 4th place, so he's going to have to wait a bit longer to try that, as Bialuk is going to the pits. He's going to get himself a set of ultra softs. I don't know if he had any sort of front wing repairs. We weren't able to catch that one, and okay, for a moment I thought it was the Ferrari driver getting a penalty for exceeding that white line on the pit exit, but now it was Black Reverse getting a 3-second time penalty for exceeding speed limits, to exceeding the track limits, as we have Overspeed once again. He's been closer than ever to Evil Kiwi ever since the Toro Rosso driver overtook the Hungarian. Let's see how it goes once again. You can see the throttle application from the Hungarian driver. He's up through the gears, just trying to get himself in enough range to attack, but looks like he's just losing too much time through the last corner. He might not have a chance into turn 1, but we can still write him off just yet. He can always try and have a go into turn number 4. We are going to also take a look at Rocky, who looked like he was also very close to Logan. Let's see if he can get himself up to P2. No, he does not. Does Evil Kiwi get challenged by overspeed? No as well. Black Reverse somehow has found a way to get himself within half a second of these two. So very good pace from Black Reverse this early in the race, but he made a mistake into turn 4 exactly at the same time as I was about to speak about how well he's done to catch these pair of cars, and he's dropped down to over a second once again. So Bialuk is down to 16th after his pit stop. Streeter on the Super Softs has been able to take himself from second last place on the grid to 10th. Of course, Rat is on fresher tires and also softer tires, so there might be a battle between the two at the moment. I haven't seen Streeter get any sort of on-track battling. Of course, this is his debut race, so let's see how well he is on his defensive maneuvers. We also have Steph Farrell on the Haas, if I'm not mistaken. He's also a debutee today, making himself a respectable 9th place at the moment, so that is also going to be interesting to see. He's kind of in no man's land at the moment, 3 seconds away from the car ahead, 2 seconds away from the car behind, so he's on a bit of a island of his own at the moment. Let's see how that, if anything changes with his race situation and into the remaining laps of his stint and possibly of his race. Rocky once again got unchallenged by Logan got unchallenged by Rocky, and Streeter has left the session. Maybe he got a disconnection issue, maybe it's some glitch with Steam or something, but unfortunately for him, he was doing very well. Rat is just going to take a breath of relief as he's going to have to overtake one last car. Streeter is about to get overtaken by his teammate JJS, but it's really a shame that the Indian driver looks like he has some connection issues at the moment. Let's see if he can come back to the lobby and try to continue a race that was being quite respectful. He was really having competitive pace, I would say, despite being on the Super Softs. Of course, he was able to take advantage of some of the misfortunes of the cars that are retired from the race and that are currently behind him, but nonetheless, it is also a skill sometimes to avoid trouble, especially as he was on the last row of the grid and there was basically a blockade of cars right before the braking zone into turn 1. There was cars everywhere, carbon fiber everywhere, and he managed to avoid it all. So that is also a skill on my books, as we have Rocky once again too far away from second place to challenge him. That might not be the case with Overspeed, and of course Overspeed cannot be too aggressive. He did not get a challenge done on that 4th place occupied by the Czech driver of the Toro Rosso, but Black Reverse is probably getting himself set, just taking the slipstream, probably not pushing too hard on the fuel or the RS. He can take this double slipstream, he's going to get the RS. Of course, through this quicker section, the dirty air might put a damper on his plans, but nonetheless, the number 13 looks himself stable at the moment as Bialuk gets, I believe, his 2nd penalty of the race so far. So if Overspeed makes any mistake whatsoever, Black Reverse is going to be there to possibly pick up any pieces that might come his way. Let's see how that goes from him, as we have Jensen in the pits. Is the first of the leaders to pit, going to take himself these Hypersofts off of his car, going for the Super Softs, and looks like he's going to finish the race on Ultra Soft. So I'm actually honestly not sure. I believe the Super Softs are supposed to last 20 laps, so let's see if he can take those 20 laps on his tires. As Overspeed, exactly as I was thinking, Streeter has been able to join the lobby, but Overspeed was actually overtaken by Black Reverse instead of him challenging Evil Kiwi for P3. Logan, he still maintained himself away from Rocky just enough to sustain the pressure from the McLaren drivers. We are looking down the order and we don't really see anyone too close to each other. We have Rat 1 second away from Steph Farrell, but at the moment it's not really any possibility of an overtaking attempt from the Dane, as we have some yellow flags somewhere. I believe it might have been, it was Streeter. Maybe he had a bit of a confusing rejoin. Maybe he, unfortunately for him, didn't rejoin to his car on out of traffic. Maybe he was already pressurized by these two, as they were. Yeah, he's really on the bit of a pickle at the moment. So unfortunately for him, he wasn't given much time to set himself back up after after being able to rejoin. So he sees himself in 16th behind Bieluk actually. So really unfortunate from him. Rocky looks like, okay, that was lag for a moment. It looked like he had some form of stop and go penalty. He's going to take on a set of ultra soft tires, and he's going to come out. He's going to be very close between Stoffel, Rat and the McLaren. Both of them get past, and Rat overtakes two cars on a single maneuver. Stoffel, the rookie, is trying now to defend from the number 95. Let's see how that goes now on the exit. Under acceleration, DRS wide open on the back of both of them, so that is probably, sorry, no, actually Steph didn't really get DRS because he was battling with Rat on the detection zone, and it's just a lunge there from the McLaren driver, getting himself up to P9. I believe Steph actually did play ball there to an extent. I don't think he defended really hard. He gave him the space to the gave him the space to the inside, basically let him through, I would say. So not really the most aggressive defensive maneuvers there from Steph, from the Haas driver, but currently P10, respectable. Let's see what the driver can do until the end of the race. So Logan is currently in P1, and with a 3-second gap to Black Reverse, who's on the meantime, I'm sorry for missing this, but in the meantime he has overtaken Evil Kiwi. So I maybe Kiwi will just let him through, because Kiwi, I would say, doesn't really want to get too much into trouble. But Black Reverse, he qualified in P12. Maybe it was just the qualifying not going his way, but he has been able to have a very good race pace, as we also had a swap of positions between Rocky and Rat into turn 1. So the McLaren driver is making work done through the first sector, gaining positions during that portion of the track, as Overspeed gets a 3-second time penalty of his own, unfortunately for him. He has Noid Rate very close to him, so if he doesn't build a gap until the end of the race, that might be it for his chances of getting a top 4, as we have Overspeed very close to Evil Kiwi. He's been closer, as the Force India driver Black Reverse got the penalty of his own. It has been closer, the gap between these two, so I don't know much will come from this, as we have Bieluk and Videoton duking it out for 14th place. There's a bit of a lag moment there, as Bieluk goes wide, and it is a third penalty for the Ferrari driver. Unfortunately for him, we have two drivers in the pits. We have Overspeed and Noiderate, both of them going for a set of super softs, and Overspeed is going to maintain himself ahead of the Renault driver. They are going to rejoin the track in 9th and 10th, at least that's what it seems like. Yeah, it looks like JJS is quite far behind, so things will normalize as they are at the moment, unless Overspeed is challenged by the Singaporean driver of the Renault. Moving to the top 3, we have Evil Kiwi, just over a second behind Black Reverse, so not much from there. Again, Evil Kiwi doesn't really need to battle the Force India driver. He just needs to get himself some damage limitation on Jensen, who's just under 4 seconds behind him. He has pitted once, he's going to pit once again, but Evil Kiwi needs to get himself in front of the Dane if he wants to get points on him at the end of the race. JJS is out of the race, unfortunately for him. Bieluk is back up to 11th place. You have Evil Kiwi and Logan finally coming into the pits. There was a bit of a jump scare there, if I could say that. Nice camera shot there, seeing the work of the Toro Rosso pit crew, as Evil Kiwi gets serviced and bolts on a new set of super softs. So that is going to be the one-stop strategy executed from the Czech driver. He might get jumped by Noiderate. Yes, he got jumped by both Overspeed and Noiderate. So yes, the gap is considerable. So he has a bit of clean air in front of him, but if he is quicker, he might have some issues, because he might lose time battling these two, as he just needs to stay himself as close to Jensen as he can. He really needs to get himself out of trouble and just minimize the gap he loses to Jensen right now, because once Jensen comes out of the pits, it's going to be an absolute bullet, as I believe is going to be on super softs, but those are going to be brand new super softs compared to the older super softs of Evil Kiwi. So that disparity in tire usage might make all the difference, especially if Jensen comes out of the pits ahead of the car you have on the screen at the moment. That is going to be interesting, in my opinion, to see how that one develops. Getting ourselves up to Black Reverse, who's getting himself into the pits after 15 laps of the purple walled Ultra Softs. Is going also to execute his one-stop strategy with a switch to the red walled or red marked Super Softs. He's currently in P5. He's getting dropped to P6. Will he get down to P7? Let's see. And I don't think... No, he actually is going to get overtaken by the Renault. Will there be a contest for a late braking award? No, there is not at this moment, at least. And Noirate claims a P6 from him. So Black Reverse keeps himself in front of Evil Kiwi. And again, Kiwi is going to have some work to do to get clean air in front of him. Logan also jumped Rat in the meantime. So the Williams is still himself in the top 5. I believe he still has to pit again. So it is going to be a weird one towards the end of the race. I believe he's also going for the super softs at the end. And of course, just like Jensen, those are going to be quite quick towards the end of the race. So let's see how that one goes. Black Reverse is just under a second from Noirate, and Evil Kiwi is just under a second from The Force India. So let's see which one of them has the opportunity to go under attack at the beginning of the next lap. At the detection point, it looked to me that at the detection point, the gap between Black Reverse and Noirate is less than a second, and it drastically went down. I believe Noirate might have had a very bad exit out of the last corner, because he lost, unless the timings are trolling me, it looks like he lost half a second, and is going to lose even more by virtue of Black Reverse having higher top end speed, having the RS at his disposal. It's now going to be a contest of who gets the better exit out of this first set of corners. Looks like Noirate got the advantage this time around, and so is going to stay put in 7th place so far. Rat dropped a place to overspeed himself, as you can see. Despite the super softs being the tires, overspeed is on. Those are still much fresher and probably have better pace on them than the cars the Dane is on at the moment, as Black Reverse gets a 3-second time penalty of his own. There is a moment there from Rat, and he's in the wall. The race is over from the Dane. He hasn't really been very comfortable in any set of tires so far, and unfortunately the race is done for the Dane. What an unfortunate mistake there. He tried, the car whiplashed on him. He tried to correct it one way, but the car gripped up too violently, and he had to counter steer to multiple directions there. He had quite a few moments of oversteer there to opposing sides, and eventually he just couldn't control it and got into the wall. Unfortunately, the car went to the left ultimately instead of to the right, where he would have gotten a bit more space to either spin and try to just save the front wing, or maybe just get more space to slow down the car, and therefore, if there was a collision, only get front wing damage. That wasn't the case, and is out of the Grand Prix. Only have 13 drivers racing at the moment, as Rocky is right ahead of Tyser after the pit stop. Rocky got through his in P7. Evil Kiwi is battling Noirate. Noirate got awfully wide, and he gets slapped in the wrist with a 3-second penalty for him. So Evil Kiwi, let's see how he goes. He already got past the Renault. He doesn't really need to battle Black Reverse to finish ahead of him at the end of the race. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any warnings, I haven't seen any race control messages about penalties for Evil Kiwi, but I also haven't seen any messages from Jensen. So yeah, Jensen will have to pit. I would say the gap at the moment is 18 seconds, maybe 19-20 seconds between Evil Kiwi and Jensen. So Jensen is going to come out of the pits rather close to Evil Kiwi, I would say, after his second pit stop, after the Danes' second pit stop, and it is going to be then a battle between these two to see who can get the most points after this race. Of course, Evil Kiwi is 21 points behind Jensen. He could still be on a striking range for the championship, but it is going to become just a little bit more unlikely if Jensen beats Evil Kiwi today. So we are going to scanning down the order. Neudorate is just under a second behind Evil Kiwi, but is not really having the pace at the moment to keep up with the Toro Rosso driver. Looking further down, everyone is at least 2.5 seconds apart from each other. Farrell has been still in 10th place. Basically, the entire race, the Haas driver has been in 10th place. So it has been rather interesting to see the rookie be that consistent. It has been a rather lonely race from Steph, so let's see, maybe anything will happen and that will change, but at the moment looks like it's going to be firmly 10th place finish for the Haas driver. Let's see how that goes. The Neudorate is just over 1 second away, so no charge there to be seen from the Renault driver. And we have Jensen losing time to Logan. It's not too much because Jensen does have a softer compound on his tire, but he's also a 4-lap older tire or set of tires than Logan. So the number 19 is going to be pushing to catch up Jensen. Of course, Jensen is going to pit once again. Logan is not. So any time that Logan can get on Jensen throughout this period where he has the fresher tires is going to help him keep Jensen behind him at the end of the race. So Videoton gets himself a 3-second time penalty of his own. Doesn't really look like too troublesome, especially because I think it's only the first penalty for the Alfa Romeo driver, and the Haas driver is over 6 seconds away. So not too big of a deal from the Hungarian driver, even though it might put a damper on his hopes to overtake his fellow Hungarian Teiser, the Renault driver in front of him. And it is going to be tough for him. He's not only going to have to overtake on track, which doesn't look like he doesn't have the pace to do so, especially because he's on 18-lap old super softs. He's currently the runner with the highest amount of laps on his car, and is only being matched in terms of the double-digit stints. He's only matched by Jensen, who's on 10 laps. Videoton is the only other driver on the double digits in terms of lap usage. He's just about to start his 19th lap on that set of red marked tires. Looking down the order, Evil Kiwi has pulled away from Neudorate. Rocky, I'm not sure. Yes, Rocky was on a 2-stop strategy, so he's going to push with fresher tires, even though the gap isn't that big between the tire usage of Rocky and the cars in front of him. It's 4 laps to Neudorate, 3 to Evil Kiwi. It's only 2 to Black Reverse, so he might not have the easiest time ever getting through the pack, at least compared to what I'm expecting Jensen to be able to have once he pits. I'm actually not sure what tires he's going to pit for. He started, I believe, he did start on the Hypersofts. He went to Ultra Softs, and I guess he's going to go to Ultra Softs again. So he's just trying to extend those tires to be able to get a second set of Ultra Softs to the end. I would say usually those who start on the Hypersofts go at one point to the Super Softs, but of course Jensen has been very nice, very smooth with the tires the entire season, and he has made, despite getting an extra pit stop, most times he has been able to get himself the quickest tires towards the end and maintaining that extra pit stop strategy, still making it work at least compared to Evil Kiwi. He beat him at Russia, even though Evil Kiwi had a mistake there. He beat him at Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. At Suzuka it was exactly the same. Two stop strategy for Jensen, 1-stop strategy for Evil Kiwi. Jensen came out ahead on that one. So it is really been Jensen taking the lead of the field. No one has been able to match him really. So It's going to be interesting. Logan has been able to get bit by bit, lap by lap, not much of an advantage, but still enough to get himself closer to Jensen compared to the previous lap. So the pace of those two isn't too far apart, but of course Logan needs to get as much time as possible, because Jensen is going to be coming on fresher and softer tires when the time comes for him to pit, which I believe Jensen is going to pit within the next 3 laps. I don't see him going much further beyond lap 25. I don't see him pitting later than lap 25, especially if he's going to go for ultra softs at the end, unless he has another set of hyper softs to his name. Rocky gets another 3-second time penalty. I believe it is the second to his name, so that's going to make his job harder if he wants to get into the top 5 at the end of the race. Looking down once again, we have Streeter very close to Videoton. Videoton is on brand new tires. Streeter, after the disconnection, he was in P10, he was doing very well, but at the moment he is just getting, there's not much he can do at the moment, and he is being overtaken very smoothly, very cleanly by Videoton. So that is it for that one. And Streeter, after his very respectable 10th place he was holding, got his disconnection issues and is down to last place, unfortunately for him. Diary though is still, I was going to say he's still on the battle for P10, but no, actually not. He's actually 10 seconds behind BTEC Sim Racer, but he's getting very, or under very big pressure from the Alfa Romeo of Videoton, as Logan looks like he made a quite costly mistake. He lost at least half a second to Jensen, and Videoton has been really chasing down the American driver who qualified in the top 5 for the first time in this season. Of course, he got himself on the Hypersofts at the end of qualifying and made a great lap, but a very poor start got him into the middle of all the chaos. It was 4, maybe 5 wide into turn 1 at one point, and even before the braking zone there was carbon fiber flying everywhere. Diary at least was able to keep the car out of terminal damage, but his front wing was completely gone by the braking points of turn 1, and he's just getting smoothly past or overtaken by Videoton. Looked like for a moment that Streeter was going for a move. He does have fresher, softer tires. He's going to have DRS Sable at his disposal. Diary will not, and it is going to be a inside maneuver from the Red Bull driver. It gets a little bit deep, but Diary can't pull the switch back off, and so the Indian gets himself up to P12. Overspeed getting a penalty of his own. He is up to P2. 3-second time penalty for him. Maybe an off-track excursion that actually cost him time, as Jensen has already made his pit stop, and he comes out of the pits right behind Jensen. It is going to be the battle for maybe the championship win. Of course, Kiwi is been waiting for this moment. This is the guy he needs to defend tooth and nail from, and he just didn't have it on his tires. The super softs, the 10 lap old super softs compared to the brand new ultra softs, Kiwi just didn't have enough to answer Jensen's charge, and Jensen is just going to be past him. Maybe Evil Kiwi is able to get through the slipstream and try to get a tow to maybe claim the paces from Black Reverse and Overspeed, depending on the penalties. Maybe Logan, even though he's too far away, I don't know how many penalties the Ferrari driver has to his name, so maybe Evil Kiwi could actually get P2 behind the Williams driver, but from now on Evil Kiwi wasn't able to get himself a quick enough race pace to get some space between him and Evil Kiwi, between him and Jensen, once Jensen came out of the pits for his second pit stop, and he paid the price. Now it's just damage limitation from the Toro Rosso driver. Again, entering this race, the gap is 21 points. We have 4 races left, taking into account this one, so it's going to make the title possibilities for the Toro Rosso driver quite unlikely. So it might be it, but of course anything can happen. People can make mistakes. Jensen himself has had his fair share of DNFs this season, so And Evil Kiwi is just getting tilted, I would say. He knows it's all or nothing, and he just makes a mistake. If he kept it clean, he could have gotten an easy podium, I would say. But at this point, it's just pushing too hard and paid the price. That's a 3-second time penalty for the Czech driver. And Jensen is going to get himself right on the gearbox of overspeed. These flaps are going to open on the rear wing of both the Alfa Romeo and the Williams. Of course, the Alfa Romeo the Williams is closer to the Alfa Romeo than the Alfa Romeo is to the Force India, and it's going to be a late braking maneuver from the number 91. Very easily done, very smooth, and passed into P3. Not too much trouble whatsoever as Rocky retires from the session. Looks like he has crashed out. Unfortunately for him, he is out of the race, and that is both McLaren's out of the race. And then we had Jensen getting past Black Reverse in the meantime, as Black Reverse didn't have DRS because he was ahead of that trio. Now it's going to be Evil Kiwi's turn to try to overtake those two as quickly as he can, and then try to pull away to not have to rely on any sort of penalties to get himself P3 or maybe P2 again, depends on what penalties Logan might have to his name. Again, Evil Kiwi hasn't shown to be on the same pace as the Ferrari driver, as the German of the Ferrari. Let's see though if Jensen, with basically 10 laps fresher, softer tires, can get up to P1 and take the win today. It would be quite amazing to see, as he is with a new fastest lap for the race, 1:16.591 into the name, or by the name of the Dane. And it's going to be close. I mean, we still have 8 laps to go, but Jensen needs to be on it. Of course, his tires are going to degrade rather quickly, so maybe if he makes too many mistakes, if he locks up somewhere, if he misses a corner, by the time he catches up to Logan, he might not have the tires to overtake the Ferrari driver. But let's see how that one will develop. In the meantime, we have had overspeed right on the back of Black Reverse. He wasn't able to overtake at the last lap. Let's see if he can do in the next one. Let's see if he can do that. He got a bit wide there through the second sector, through these right corners from the second sector. The change of directions of the car, the ease with which the car changes directions, the stability under the high-speed corners is very important for this racetrack, or to have a good performance around this racetrack. So it is going to be interesting to see how much time Overspeed lost to Black Reverse. Looks like it is over a second gap. I don't know if Overspeed is going to have DRS at his disposal. Going to take a look at his steering wheel, and he does have DRS available to him, but he's too far behind. That mistake through the middle sector, looks like he doesn't have the same pace as the Force India driver through that middle sector. Evil Kiwi hasn't been able to close in too much to these two, so he's going to stay put in 5th for the time being. Everyone else is quite spread out. Dari is just over a second from Streeter, but Streeter has fresher, softer tires, so that's not really going to be much of an issue for the Indian, unless the Indian driver makes a mistake of his own. But I'd like to point your attention towards the double retirements from the McLaren drivers. Both of them have retired at Suzuka. They had a brilliant, both cars in the top 5, a brilliant qualifying performance, but then Spax Gamer got involved in that turn 1 incident. He got run out, he got retired, or got terminal damage, so he couldn't carry on the race. And then Rocky, at about 5 laps ago, managed to put the car on a wall somewhere, and that was it for any hopes of the McLaren to getting some solid points today. Let's not forget the McLaren is in last place with about a 30-point gap to the closest constructor, so they do really need the points in the upcoming 3 race weekends, unless they want to stay last at the end of the season. I'm going to take a look at Jensen. I'm going to take a look with this on board, just so you guys can see his throttle inputs. I don't know if those, or if that graphic is affected by lag, so maybe if you guys can take some pointers from this lap from Jensen. Of course, he's not really on the pace for the fastest lap anymore. He does have a high amount of ERS. I'm not sure in terms of the fuel, but he does have ERS to burn. But let's try to take a look and see what inputs Jensen has throughout the lap. Just a little bit of a lift off before approaching both of these corners, and flat out at the exit of the last corner of the second sector, right before braking at that black box to the left side that was blinking the green flag. And pretty smoothly done. You can see the throttle is not being too aggressive with it. He knows that his tires can be done rather quickly if he pushes it too hard, especially around this track with all the slow speed exits and all the traction that is required of them to get of the tires to get a good exit out of those sections. And it looks like in the previous lap alone, the gap between Jensen and Logan has halved. So Jensen is really on a charge. He really is smelling blood. He knows he can do it. It's just a matter of time before he gets into a range. I believe he's going to be able to do so next lap. Overspeed is another driver who has been smelling blood, in my opinion. He just doesn't have that last edge through the second sector to keep himself with black reverse. Maybe he has light wing damage, maybe he's just not able to deal with the dirty air through there, and by the time he reaches the third sector and then the start of the lap with the long DRS zone, is just not close enough to take advantage of that. He had that same issue against Evil Kiwi earlier in the Grand Prix. Overspeed and black reverse overtook the Toro Rosso driver by virtue of the undercut during the pit stops, I believe. No, actually Overspeed, yes, Overspeed undercut him, and Black Reverse was the last one to pit, but Black Reverse was already in front of both of them once the round of pits came on. So Black Reverse maintained his leading position of this trio, and Overspeed undercut Evil Kiwi as Black Reverse gets an, I believe that is the second penalty of his race, as Jensen is going on the attack at Logan, but I believe Jensen might have missed the corner. No, that camera was deceiving. I thought Jensen would be much closer to him during that corner number 1, but no, he's just trying to buy his time, trying to not be too aggressive. Logan was able to fend the Dane off, but he knows his tires are practically gone, I would say, in the number 19. Of course, they still have pace in them to be consistent in race pace, but compared to a 7-lap old set of Ultrasofts, there is just no comparison whatsoever. Let's see how it goes through the middle sector between these two. Is the pressure from Jensen forced Logan into a mistake? Doesn't look like it, but Jensen gets a much better exit out of those quick corners, forces Logan into taking a defensive line, and is not able to capitalize on that. He doesn't go for the charge around the outside, so he's patiently waiting his time to strike, which I would say will be now. He's right on the gearbox of the Ferrari driver. He's going to get DRS to his availability. He is on mode number 4 of the ERS deployment, so just full beans down this very long straight. It's going to be heavy on the brakes into turn 1, and there's not even a challenge. He was past Logan even before the braking zone has gotten to them. Black Reverse is still pressurized by Overspeed. Evil Kiwi has been able to get closer to these two, but again not close enough to overtake, unfortunately. So it is going to be interesting to see. Evil Kiwi knows that he really does need to get himself on the top 3 if he wants to just minimize as much as possible the gap to Jensen at the end of the race. He might not be able to get second, but he definitely needs to get P3, and we know he has the capabilities to do so. Evil Kiwi is a very competent driver, but Overspeed and Black Reverse have been improved over the season. Evil Kiwi at some point was winning, was single-handedly, just very lonely races that Evil Kiwi was winning, but we've seen the skill of these drivers rise throughout the season, and now Overspeed and Black Reverse are able to match and in this case beat Evil Kiwi. And it has been rather interesting to see how these drivers grow in their pace throughout the season. Some of them were very consistent, some of them were actually very crash prone, as Streeter gets the fastest lap of the race to his name. He is trying to unlap himself from Evil Kiwi, I would say. I am not sure. I'm going to try to take a look at the Red Bull driver. But yeah, he's right behind them. I don't think he really wants to get involved in this battle. This might get some penalties might get deployed from this, especially if he attacks any of the trio ahead of him. There is contact, and there is carbon fiber flying from the front wing of that Red Bull. As you guys can see on the right hand side, there are quite a few elements of that right side of the front wing gone, as we have about just 2.5 laps to go. Jensen has already pulled away a massive gap to his opponents, and yeah, Evil Kiwi is still as half a second away from Overspeed. Overspeed has been closer to Black Reverse, is closer than he's ever been right before entering the stadium section. Let's see, Evil Kiwi is also right with almost with his front wing under the rear diffuser of the Sauber. It might be a 3-wide moment into third one. Let's see, Overspeed is further away from Black Reverse than Kiwi is from the Sauber. Let's see, the slipstream is going to be more powerful for the Toro Rosso driver. Let's see how it goes. He's going to have a chance at attack. No, he is not at the moment, but he can still strike again. Of course, Overspeed is going to get a run at Black Reverse. Let's see who gets the best traction out of the corner number 3. Now let's see how it goes up through the gears. DRS wide open, and once again Black Reverse managing his grip, managing his resources just enough to once again stay away from the charging Alfa Romeo of Overspeed. And the desperate, I would say, Evil Kiwi, he knows it's really all or nothing. Maybe he has resigned to P5, but I'm pretty sure he still wants to try to make it work if he can. Of course, I would say that P5, given the circumstances, it's better to get P5 than going for a risky maneuver and losing out altogether on a top 5 finish. But sometimes you just need to send it, just like it goes the term. Sometimes you have to lick the stamp and just send it. But he hasn't been shown the opportunity, or at least it doesn't look like he believes the opportunity has been presented to him. He's going to have another round at it though, another crack at it with the RS wide open once again. Number 4 is the mode on the energy deployment system. Let's see if Overspeed can have a go at Black Reverse. Black Reverse is weaving left, he's weaving right, trying to break the slipstream. He goes later on the brakes. There is contact between the Force India and the Alfa Romeo. Black Reverse, in all fairness, gave plenty of room to the Hungarian driver. Just the Hungarian driver got a bit too late on the brakes than he would have liked, as we have another brake challenging or blade breaking contest between these two. Overspeed wins it once again, and he maintains P4. Unfortunately for the Toro Rosso driver, is not really having much given to him, but there is a mistake from Overspeed. Unfortunately, he gets right back on it and is able to have a crack at it. As guys can see, we now have all the confetti, all the fireworks you can have at this stadium, as this is it. Jensen has made he hasn't put a wheel wrong whatsoever through the race. Got pole, didn't get the fastest lap because of that Red Bull, but he's doing... Is he crossed the line? Yes, he has crossed the line. I got scared on that one, but he crosses the line to get home the win of this Mexican Grand Prix. Logan comes home in P2 with a brilliant race. Black Reverse for a moment looked like he was going to finish ahead of him on penalties, but he actually drops down to P6 even. Evil Kiwi gets P3, Noidrate P4, Overspeed P5, so after all, Evil Kiwi is able to just manage that little bit of damage conservation to get the last of the podium places. Tyser looks like he's about to finish the race in 7th place, so I would say a very respectable performance from Tyser, who has retired from the race at both Russia and Suzuka, so he's able to get himself a nice bounce back race after unfortunate riddled or a very bad luck at both Russia and Suzuka. Dari and Streeter are finishing outside of the top 10. They have already completed the race a lap down. Videoton finishes the race in 8th. BTEC Sim Racer gets himself in 9th, and Steph on his debut, unless there are penalties to take into account. No, there are not, or at least if they were, they didn't change anything. BTEC Sim Racer in 9th, and Steph on the first race, debut race for the Haas driver. They are going to be happy with that 10th place, I would say. LGS in chat is asking, am I going to stream tomorrow? Yes, I will be streaming tomorrow, hopefully. At least that's my plan. but I'll let you guys know if the plan changes. I've had a very busy week this week, so very tough. I've been going to a couple job interviews. I have a couple of prospects, so I've been busy this week. I haven't been able to stream as much as I would like, but hopefully things will improve in the future. And there you have it, on the top step of the podium once again, for the first time actually since Russia, and it is the first win of the season, sorry, the 5th win of the season for the Williams driver. He has been finished 2nd in the last couple races. At Italy, Singapore and Suzuka. At Italy, he finished behind Evil Kiwi. It was actually the last win of the Toro Rosso driver, but then he finished behind at Singapore and Suzuka. He finished behind the Frenchman Zor, who unfortunately didn't take part of the race today. So with that, we are going to get ourselves to the official results. Just giving a second for the game to load them, unless the game is trolling me. I would like to be able to see them. But, okay, really, come on, the game. Okay, the game is trolling me. We didn't get the final results, but this is it, guys, for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like button. If you did not, the dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever I am about to start a live stream or to post a video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.